Now, if you're familiar with the song Something Wicked This Way Comes, understand that when Boyd smashed that box to save a life, he set it off. Okay? Hey y'all, welcome to my channel Reviewed, where we talk about all things television and film from today and yesteryear. So today I wanted to come on here and talk about one of my favorite shows from season 3, and I wanted to do a brief recap of the first 4 episodes, and let's just get straight into it. So, of course, season 3 starts off with Tabitha. She wakes up in the hospital and she's still trying to figure out how she was able to cross over from that mystery town. And the nurses and doctors are coming in, checking on her, or whatever, and they want to keep her for observations. And they let her know that the police are eventually going to come to question her because they're trying to figure out who she is. So, she's not trying to hear that. She ends up getting dressed and leaving the hospital. So after she leaves the hospital, she starts making her way through this town, and she's basically just trying to figure out exactly where she is. And so, meanwhile, back in the mystery town, Jim is basically trying to talk to Ethan, calm him down. And he's trying to get him home because he intends on going to look for Tabitha. Sidebar, y'all. Jim will always be Pinocchio to me, okay? I am a Once Upon a Time fan, okay? I am a oncer. So if I slip up and call him Pinocchio from time to time, that is why, okay? So we got Boyd. He's talking to Jim and Kenny, and he's basically letting them know about the forest or whatever, and just letting him know that if he does intend on going to look for Tabitha, that they need to make sure they get to that particular area before it turns dark, of course. So we get this scene here with Fatima. She's dealing with morning sickness because she's preggo, and it's causing a little trouble in the house because she's hemming up the bathroom or whatnot. Honey, when I tell y'all, I cannot wait to see the outcome of this pregnancy, but we'll get into that a little later, okay? So again, Tabitha is, she's trying to figure her way around this town, and she ends up running into these girls, and she asks one of them, can she use the cell phone? And she ends up calling her mom, and she gets very emotional, but she did want to let her mom know that she was okay. And she was like, yeah, Jen is with the kids, I just wanted you to know that we're okay. It's just a lot that we have going on. And she was just like, I'll try to get back in touch with you as soon as I can. And of course, you get her mom on the other end of the phone, kind of frantic, and just wanted to know, like, no, 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 don't hang up, because she clearly, they've been gone for some time. And, her calling her mom just basically, it confirmed to her family, I'm assuming, that she is alive. But at the same time, she really can't explain the situation because she don't know the situation. Okay. So here we have Kenny. He goes to the diner. His mom, she got some food and supplies for him and Jim for when they get ready to head out to the forest. And they basically have a heartfelt moment. She's just basically telling him, you need to be careful. I can't lose you too, because of what happened to his father or whatnot. And, Kenny is like, Mom, I got this. We cool. We good. I know what's up. We going to get there before it get dark. And, we're going to shelter. We're going to go into the shelter and we're just going to chill. And honey, when I tell you what ended up happening in this episode, I did not see that coming at all. And clearly neither did Kenny, but it is what it is. And so we got Donna and some more of the people in the town. They are basically trying to see what food they can salvage because all the food is now rotting. Now, out of all this time that they've been in this town, they from I'm just basing this off of season 1 and 2. They never had no issues with this food rotting until Boyd bust that doggone music box. I'm telling you, that music box done set something off, honey, because the fact that their food is rotting in that particular town now is crazy to me. And so with the news of the food rotting, through the town, people are going to Miss Lou Diner, basically letting her know, you need to let us up in here because we need to take what we can get. And it's just like, no, 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 you can't come in here. You can't come in here. And girl, them people that ran up on her anyway and went up in that diner and just basically took what they wanted to take. So Jim and Kenny make it into the forest, and they are looking around, and you can see all those little stick people sticking out of the ground, but they end up settling into that little cabin over there overnight. That's where they ended up staying. So we get old boy, I do not know his name, y'all. He's sitting down talking to Miss Tilly, and she's basically letting him know, you need to get you some sleep because, he's been having issues sleeping after he basically got drowned by that lady. And so while he's sitting up here talking to Miss Tilly, honey, that lady ended up showing up, that real skinny, frail, malnutrition looking woman ended up showing up. And let me tell you something, for whatever reason, and thank goodness he was just dreaming, but for whatever reason, y'all, I believe this lady is going to manifest. I do. I think she is going to end up manifesting into a reality in this mystery town. So, Tabitha, she makes her way through the town and she ends up at Henry's house. Henry is Victor's father. She has that lunchbox, and Victor always kept his address and information inside that lunchbox, so she ends up going there. And baby, when I tell you his dad was not here for it, he was like, "You are not about to come up in here and play with me and tell me you know my son when my son been missing for years." Okay. So later on that night in the mystery town, honey, the doggone creatures started letting the animals out the barn. They opened the gate, let the goat and the sheep out. I mean, just letting them run a straight up muck. Let me tell you, when Boyd bust that doggone box, that music box or whatever you want to call it, when he smashed that box, I'm telling y'all, he set something off in that town. So, honey, the creatures are just cruising, parlaying through the town, honey, and everybody is noticing that the animals are running amok. So, Boyd comes out the house. Everybody just started coming out the house trying to, wrestle up the doggone animals. And girl, this old lady show up at Ethan and Julie's house, baby. He opened that door. Julie was trying to close the door, and that lady got her little behind through that dog, got her behind in that house, honey. They run out that doggone house so fast. Let me tell you something. This blew me. Okay, this part blew me because it was like, out of all the time that they've been in that town, they've been dealing with these creatures this whole time. We have never seen them mess with the livestock. You know what I'm saying? Like, they never mess with the animals and things like that. So again, to me, it's almost like when he broke that box, it just emboldened them even more. You know what I'm saying? Because they never messed with those doggone animals. As long as they've been in that town, they never had no issues with them creatures setting the animals free. So I was like, y'all, this is crazy. And so Miss Boyd and Miss Lou, they end up getting the cows. One of the cows end up getting his neck slid into by one of the creatures. But anyway, so Miss Lou, she followed Boyd, and Boyd was trying to tell her, no, go. She's like, no, we go together. So they end up in a barn, and I knew then, oh my gosh, as soon as he closed that barn door, I was like, soon as he turned around, I knew they was going to be there. And this is something, y'all. Okay, so, and this is another thing, like, if they never had the talisman in the barn, because they keep the talisman at their houses or whatever to keep the creatures away, if they never had them in the barn, like, seriously, why all of a sudden are they messing with the animals and letting the animals free? So that sounds like, okay. Anyway, so Boyd and Miss Lou end up in that doggone barn, and baby, what they did to Miss, I was not ready for it. Now, Miss Lou she wasn't necessarily my fave, you know what I'm saying, of the show. She's not one of my favorite characters, baby, but I was not ready for what they did to her. I was not ready at all. So, honey, they end up wrestling up Boyd and tying him up to this pole, and they got Miss Lou. Honey, when I tell you, I did not see, oh Lord, when they got her, I knew it was over. I was like, oh Lord, Nabu. Baby, when I tell you the creatures gave a whole new meaning to Snatch a Bee wig, baby, when they snatched her hair and pulled her scalp out of her head, listen to me. I was like that, and then they made Boyd watch. Like, they was like, no, you gonna watch this. We want you to see this. Like, I could not understand. I was like, y'all mean to tell me these creatures is not going to listen to, these creatures got too much mofo sense. Baby, they snatched Miss Lou wig. They snatched it, baby. Snatched it down to the ground. Okay? And y'all, Boyd, it was absolutely nothing he could do. He was just like, no. He was trying to talk to me. So he was just trying to be like, no, it's okay. Oh my gosh, y'all. The fact that they wanted him to see her be tortured and unalive like that, it blew me, because it was like, these creatures are not playing the radio with y'all at this point. Like, ain't nobody safe. Nobody's safe. So the following morning, the guy from the bar, he goes to the barn and he sees Kenny's mom laid out. Okay. Then he unties Boyd, and Boyd just runs over and he just starts hugging her, and he's just crying because he literally saw her take her last breath. And so the guy finally asked Boyd, he was like, "How are you still alive? Why didn't they do anything to you?" He was like, "They wanted me to watch." And when I tell you it is definitely going to have an effect on him, it most definitely is. And so while everything is going on back at home, honey, Jim and Kenny end up finding all this fresh food. Okay, they got fresh vegetables, fresh fruit, or whatever. So they are excited that they will be able to, take some food back into the town. Especially since all the craziness that happened with all their food going bad and rotting. And so this is when Ethan, Julie, and Victor find out about what happened to Kenny's mom. And of course, everybody is just upset. Victor was like, "I'm out." He basically was like, "I'm throwing up the deuces. I got to get up out of here." He was like, "No, this is not right." He just was like, he had to leave. He had to get up out of there. So Tabitha is sitting down talking to Victor's dad, and she is showing him all the photos of people that went missing on the computer. And basically, he is having a hard time just grasping what she is saying. Like, he is kind of in denial and think that she is basically playing the radio with him. So Donna goes to see Boyd, and she is basically pissed off at the fact that, Miss Lou is gone. And she was like, "Why would you risk going to get those animals? Why would you risk anybody?" She was like, "Was it worth it?" And Boyd was just like, he didn't know what to do. He was like, we were already, the food was rotting. We could not afford to lose the animals. And he was just basically made a brash decision that ultimately ended in Mrs. Lou's demise. So again, Fatima is dealing with crazy morning sickness, but this particular morning, honey, she ends up coughing, and she puts her hand in her mouth and ends up pulling out her tooth all the way from the root, the whole entire tooth. So of course now she's concerned, and she walks out of the bathroom and she lets her boyfriend know, "Hey, I need to go see the doctor." So they get to the doctor, and Ellis, he's concerned about everything that's going on with Fatima, because again, she is not eating, and the doctor tells her, she's like, everything's fine. She's like, "But if you don't start eating, you are probably going to be worse off than where you are right now." And she was basically saying that she is having a deficiency due to her not being able to keep food down, which is why she lost her tooth. I personally think it's something else, but we'll get to that later. So Fatima and Ellis get back to the house, and they are basically gathering up all the spoiled vegetables and things like that. And so when the lady goes into the house, Fatima ends up smelling the rotten vegetables. And so she takes a bite out of it, and she basically starts ravaging the doggone rotten vegetables. Like, she cannot get enough of it. It is basically the only thing she is able to keep down. And what I'm thinking is, because we know that she keeps reiterating that she thought that she could never get pregnant, I believe she is pregnant with one of them things. I do not know that for certain, but I believe that is what's going on. She is pregnant, but she is not pregnant with a human baby. And this is the day that they had the burial for Kenny's mom. So after the burial, Boyd walks up to his son Ellis, and he was like, "Look, I need your help." He was like, "We are going to catch one of those things," because he was like, he's just tired. He's fed up. He needs to know exactly what they are dealing with. And he basically lets his son know, "We are going to catch one." So we get back to Victor's dad's house, and Tabitha is walking around the basement. He's taking her on a tour of the basement, and she starts to see all of these portraits, and these portraits just so happen to be images of the mystery town. So she is basically like, "Okay, what is going on here?" And Victor's dad is letting her know that his wife was the one who painted all of those paintings. And here we get a portrait of the boy in white. And of course, we all know that this little boy has been seen by Victor and also by Tabitha, but apparently Victor's mom is the one who painted this. So she's seen them too. So back at the mystery town, Jim is at home and their phone rings and he's like shocked, but he answers it and it ends up being his son who has passed on. It's his son who basically is telling him, you need to go see what Ethan and Julie are doing. And of course, that he becomes panicked and frantic and he ends up running out of the house to go get his kids. So he finds Ethan and Julie and he's like, come on, you need to go home. We need to go home. We need to get home. And Boyd sees him. He's like, is everything okay? He was like, yeah, everything's all good. So Fatima is still dealing with severe nausea. And at this point, she goes into the kitchen and the girl, she's cooking up all this meat because remember, one of the cows' throats got ripped out by the creature. So, they had to make sure they got all the meat and start cooking it before it goes bad. So she goes into the kitchen and the girl's like, are you going to want anything to eat? And it's just like, oh no, gross. I can't eat anything. So she tries to drink some water and drinking water just basically upsets her stomach. So she ends up leaving out of the kitchen. So she goes into the backyard where they got all the spoilage or whatever of all the rotting food, the rotting vegetables and whatnot. And of course, she starts to eat it. And each time she takes a bite out of it, it's like she just can't get enough of it. She becomes ravenous. So she is out there eating and she's looking around, making sure no one sees her. And Miss Tilly ends up walking up. She's hanging laundry on the laundry line or whatever outside. And Miss Tilly ends up seeing her. And so Fatima basically throws the vegetable down and she ends up walking off and running into a shed. So here is where Kenny and Jim, they brought the people there to collect all the fresh fruits and vegetables that they found when they went out into the forest. So Miss Tilly, she finally, is able to sit down and talk to Fatima. She just wants Fatima to be okay, and just to let her know, hey, I used to eat eggshells when I was pregnant. It'll pass. Those cravings will pass. And of course, Fatima, she is nervous and concerned because she's like, Ellis is so happy, but she is so worried about this pregnancy because there is no way that she should be able to have kids. And she is just like, she just hopes that everything is okay. But basically, she kind of knows that something is not right. And so while the group is out in the forest, collecting all the fresh fruit and food and all those things like that, this fool right here from the bar child, he started having hallucinations. So, honey, he decides that he about to run up out of there. He was like, I'm not staying here. I'm about to go. And of course, they're telling him that he needs to stay because it's going to get dark. And so Christy, the doctor, she ends up running after him. And then she gets her foot caught in a bear trap. So, honey, back at the house in the mystery town, Miss Tilly recommends to Fatima to do a tarot card reading. And at first, Fatima was like, oh, no, ma'am, I don't play them type of games. I'm not doing no doggone tarot card reading. And Miss Tilly was like, just to find out how your baby's doing because you're so concerned about it, let's just do a tarot reading to see how the baby's doing. Child, wrong road, wrong road. So Fatima and Miss Tilly sit down, Miss Tilly like, girl, pick a card, any card, honey. And so Fatima was like, I just want to know if my child is okay. She asked that question and this big old black bird just bops into the window. And so, they kind of jump and Miss Tilly was like, continue. So she asked the question again, honey, and that bird smashes through the house, runs into the wall, breaks his neck, and just basically collapses on the ground. And everybody is like in shock. And I'm like, girl, that's the answer to your question. Is your baby okay? Hell no. So Tabitha and Victor's dad, they are on their way to the tree or whatever that he told her about. So on their way there, she's starting to feel a little uneasy and she was like, I think I'm just getting a little car sick. And she was like, she said, I haven't eaten anything because he already been trying to get her to eat or whatnot. And she did eat something, but she had been up all night. And so they're on their way to the place and he was like, it should be some crackers in the glove compartment. So she opens the glove compartment and she sees this bracelet, the same bracelet that Jim, her husband, had lost. And so now she's freaking out. She's panicking. And she's like, what if I'm still in this world? What if you're really not who you say you are? Basically, she is saying the same thing to Victor's dad that he was saying to her earlier when he was like, he was in disbelief and did not believe her. So she's panicking. It's just like, pull the car over. And he would not. And they end up getting into an accident. So Tabitha and Victor's dad are in the ambulance car, okay? And so they are driving and He is out of it. He's kind of unconscious, and Tabitha is well alert. So the guy who's driving the ambulance, he starts to slow down. And the paramedics in the back, they're like, what's going on? Why are you slowing down? He was like, it's a big old tree blocking the road. And honey, when Tabitha looks up and sees that tree, she was like panic. It's just like, no, 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 no. I was like, yeah, indeed. So they get out of the ambulance car, and the paramedics are, looking around trying to figure out what they're going to do because, of course, they cannot move the tree. So Tabitha gets out the car and she is looking around and she's like, oh my gosh. And then all the blackbirds just start showing up. And so the paramedic, the one that was driving, he was like, well, we're just going to try to do a detour and try to go around and see if we can head back into town or whatnot. But of course, we already know that's not an option. So Ethan is at home. He's in the kitchen and he hears the phone ring, which of course surprises him because he's like, hey, the phone is ringing. He goes and answers the phone and he hears his brother's voice. And his brother is basically telling him, hey, mom is in a bit of trouble. She's in an ambulance. You all need to, help her to make sure she's okay. And so Ethan is standing there in shock. And Jim, he sees Ethan on the phone and he snatches the phone from him. He was like, who is this? And of course, the little boy says who he is or whatnot. And Jim is outraged. He's upset and he ends up snatching the phone out of the wall. After he does that, he goes over to Ethan and he kind of shakes him a little bit. He was like, what did he say to you? What did he say? And he was like, he said that mom is in an ambulance and, we need to help her. So here we have Sarah and Victor talking. Victor built a little fort or whatnot, and he has the suitcase full of all these, I guess, I don't want to say souvenirs, but reminders of all the people in the town. And, Victor has that childlike presence because his childhood was basically stolen from him. And he is talking to Sarah. He's like, he is going to start going through all those things in the suitcase to try to figure out exactly how things ended up being the way that they were, because he said it's just not clear. He has a hard time remembering things. I guess he just blocked it out due to his childhood being so disrupted, especially since he was left in that town by himself for so long. And so we get a glimpse of Victor as a kid again, and just the way the whole town looked the night after everyone was unalived. And of course, we get a glimpse of the boy in white, who was the only friend Victor had at that particular time. After everyone was unalived, Victor was in that town again by himself for some time. Now, I don't recall in season 1 or season 2 if they said exactly how long Victor was by himself, but I'm assuming him opening that suitcase and going through the trinkets are going to start to unfold or unravel those memories for him. And maybe we can get an exact time frame as to how long he was in town by himself and just basically how he survived, like I'm curious to know how he survived. So we get a scene with Boyd and Randall. Boyd is basically, he is staying up because he wants to catch one of the creatures. He is at his wit's end. Just too much stuff is starting to happen. And he basically wants to know exactly what it is that they're dealing with. So they're sitting chilling on the bus, waiting for the creatures to start creeping out. So while Boyd and old boy are sitting on the bus, waiting for the creatures to come out, baby, they see this ambulance car riding through the town. And so they see all these lights flashing, and Ethan ends up looking out of the window and he sees the ambulance car. So he's like, I guess he's kind of like in shock because his brother basically told him that his mom was going to be in an ambulance car and that she was going to need their help. And as they're driving through the town, Tabitha's like, we need to stop here. We need to go ahead and get out. But they keep on going because they see a lady laying in the road. Of course, we know it's a creature. And so Tabitha's like, no, 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 don't get out. Don't get out. And they're like, woman, are you crazy? We need to go see about this lady in the street. And so Tabitha is like, no, she's trying to warn them. And she's, just basically like, no, no, no. And she's grabbing. And so the female police officer, she ends up handcuffing Tabitha to the ambulance. And baby, them fools get out. And I was like, it is what it is. She tried to warn you. So, honey, the paramedics get out the car. They go over to the old girl, turn her over. I guess they thought they was helping Doris Day, baby. It turns out she's a creature from the Black Lagoon. Honey, she woke up and she tore their behinds up. When I tell you I felt no ways, because I was like, she tried to tell you. But anyway, so one of the paramedics, he's still walking with all his intestines and stuff hanging out. And so the police officer sees what's going on. So she's freaking out. So she pulls out her blicky and she starts firing off rounds or whatever. And the creature, the lady's still walking towards her. So she realized, okay, what is going on? So she turns around. I thought she was getting ready to try to go back into the ambulance, but another creature was coming up from behind her. So she starts firing rounds at him and nothing is happening. So she ends up running off, and eventually she is going to end up at the main house in the town. So eventually, Jim makes it over to the ambulance car, and he's surprised to see Tabitha there. And she's been handcuffed to that little rail or whatnot. So Boyd is out there. They're looking for the keys. The creatures are out creeping, baby. They are out in full effect, and so they are trying to figure out how to get Tabitha, unhooked from that bar that she's connected to. So Randall, he goes to get some bag of tools, to bring them back so they can go ahead and loosen Tabitha. But when he gets there, honey, the creatures are creeping. They are out in full effect. And so he is unable to, get back over directly to Boyd. So he ends up tossing the bag of tools to Boyd. And baby, the creatures started surrounding him. But, Randall has been seeing all these, I guess, locusts, these big old insects or whatnot. And come to find out, it's basically been a hallucination. It's been all in his mind. But he is basically trying to fight them off. And as he's doing that, he's getting surrounded by the creatures. So while Randall is hallucinating, Boyd walks over to the ambulance and he jumps in and he throws the tools back to Jim or whatnot. And he's trying to start the ambulance car up and he's looking for the keys. And lo and behold, one of the creatures got the keys. And she was like, you can have these, but we're going to keep Randall. And in that moment, Boyd had to make a rash decision and he ended up leaving Randall. And we just saw the creatures continuously to surround Randall while he was laying on the ground. So again, the police officer lady, she ends up at the main house in the town, and she is still firing off rounds because the creatures are basically chasing her at this point. And so one of the people in the house, she's peeking out the window because she's hearing what's going on, and she ends up getting popped by one of the bullets. And unfortunately, it does not work out in her favor at all. So with all the chaos and commotion going on because of what the police officer did, Elgin ends up having an encounter with the creepy woman. And this time she says, help me to him. So, of course, he is like, okay, am I dreaming? What is going on? Because I believe this is the first time that she ever said something to him verbally. And of course, we did get a few scenes with Kenny, Christy, and the guy from the bar. They are still in the forest. They're just basically waiting for night to pass so they can go ahead and leave. So Boyd, they finally make it to the house, the main house, and he finds out that the girl, is basically unalived by the police officer, and he is livid. So Boyd is going off on the police officer, and the lady, she's apologizing. She was just like, I didn't know, I'm sorry. And Tabitha walks in and she looks at her and she said, I tried to tell you, you didn't listen. She said, I told you. And the lady ends up taking the handcuffs off Tabitha. And of course, Boyd, he is just so upset. And I think it also has to do with the fact that he had to make that decision to leave Randall behind. And so he does not know exactly what happened to him. And then he gets to the main house and finds out that someone else has been unalived. So he is just basically, he's irate at this point. So Donna and Boyd are upstairs, and I'm thinking they're about to just go off, argue. And Donna just breaks down. She starts crying because she is just so frustrated. And she's like, what is going on? Why is all of this happening? All these people are all of a sudden being unalived. And she's just like, what is going on? What is happening? And she just starts breaking down crying. And y'all know Donna is, she don't do that. Okay. So to see her break down and have a moment, I was like, okay, it's getting real. It's really getting real. Okay. So here we get another moment from Victor. One of his memories as a kid is this guy with this dummy. I guess he was a ventriloquist, but at one point, the dummy started talking by itself. It's like you see him and the man arguing. I'm like, hold on, is this Slappy from Goosebumps? Because, Slappy from Goosebumps, the only one I know that can talk. But anyway, so Victor is having this memory, and I'm wondering what significance this particular scenario is going to have in reference to Victor and his upbringing. So I'm really waiting for that to unfold to see exactly what that is about. So Jim is talking to Tabitha. He basically is trying to figure out how she was able to leave, and she knows she's going over everything that happened, and she also lets Jim know that the guy that she came back with is Victor's dad. And I am kind of glad. I just hope nothing happens to his dad, and I hope that Victor and him get to reunite on the next episode. I really looking forward to that, because Victor is basically traumatized. He's, like I said, he still has that heavy childlike innocence about him because of everything that he experienced and went through. So I'm ready for him to be reunited with his dad. So eventually the house settles a little bit, and they end up taking the girl's body upstairs, the one that was unalived. Fatima and Ellis walk upstairs, and Fatima basically tells Ellis, she's like, I just want to say goodbye to her. I wasn't really nice to her the other day at the bathroom, so I just kind of want to sit with her a minute. And Ellis was like, okay. She's like, no, by myself. He's like, are you sure? And she was like, yeah. So he leaves, and she goes into the room and closed the door, and I already knew what was up. She is pregnant with one of those creatures. Whatever it is, it ain't human. Baby, she goes over there and she undresses that woman's womb, and she sticks her finger in there. And when she started licking her fingers, I was like, yep, it's over. You eating rotten food. Now you over here um licking blood out of a unalived woman's body. Like, girl, bye. Like, seriously, you over here sucking on your fingers like you eating queso and chips. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a wrap. Whatever she's pregnant with, baby, it is definitely not Ellis' baby, and it ain't her baby. Okay. So we get a scene with Boyd and Donna. They're drinking, just having a couple of drinks, trying to calm down, and they see lights flashing. So they look out the window, and baby, Randall is laying on top of the ambulance car. Listen to me. I was not expecting that man to open his eyes. He opened his eyes and turned his face, and you saw that cut out how his face is messed up. So I don't know if he's alive or what. I don't know if them creatures gonna leave him out there to torture him to see if someone's gonna come save him. I don't know what they got planned. But what I do know is it is about to get crazy in this town, because those creatures are becoming more and more bold. And I believe it has something to do with the fact of Boyd breaking that box. I really do. I really believe that is what is causing all of the chaos. Now, real quick before I go, I just had some thoughts about Fatima. What if she is going to manifest into this creepy woman? Like, what if this is going to be her and Elgin is having premonitions? You know what I'm saying? Because he keeps seeing this woman. Like, what if she ends up manifesting into this woman? Or is this who she's going to give birth to? I don't know. I could be reaching, absolutely. But I'm wondering if these two are going to have some type of connection, because clearly she is not pregnant with a human being. Okay, I guess time will tell, but I got a feeling these two may be connected. Again, I could be completely wrong, but those are my thoughts so far. Okay. Well, that's all I have for you guys today. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate the support. And let me know what you guys think so far of this season, because it is going to be crazy, okay? And I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.